Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be my review and demo of the Natasha Denona tan palette. I've been so excited about getting this palette. I know that her Bloom Blush and Glow palette, it got so much hype all over YouTube, and so a lot of people were really excited to try out her new palette, which is called the tan palette. Let's go ahead and begin with the demo, and I'll come back with my final thoughts at the end and let you know what I think about the products. We're playing with this little palette today, and before I mess it up and put it on my face, you have to have a look at this beauty completely untouched. I think that's the best look you're going to get at it. You can see that the powder down here has ND embossed on it. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. You do also have a plastic flap up here protecting the cream product. If you're interested in my eye look, I use the ColourPop Main Squeeze eyeshadow palette, and that'll be in a different video. If it is up, I'll link it in the cards. If not, just keep an eye out. So here's what the palette looks like. The mirror is covered with a protected film, and it's just so beautiful. You have 4 products. This is a cream base. You have a super glow, a blush and bronze powder, and a glow impact powder. So I'm going to apply all the products to my face. I want to start with the glow cream base, which is this product over here. I have a little beauty blender, micro blender. Is that what they're called? The little mini beauty blenders. I'm trying to take off the film. I did lightly powder my face, but nothing too much. So you can see I have the product on my beauty sponge, and I'm just applying it to the high points of my cheek. You can see that it gives one of those kind of wet look highlights, which is nice, and this will be a good base for a powder product. You can definitely see the difference between the side I applied and the side I did not. Now I'm banking on this going well because I did use one of my Sephora reward cards on this product, and you probably know by now that if you purchase something using one of those cards, you cannot return it. It's looking really pretty. So let's go ahead and even things out. I'm liking that it applies over products really well. It's not lifting up my foundation or the powder that I applied over the foundation. I don't powder very heavily anyway, but it's good that it layers really nicely. Sometimes products that you have to use while your foundation is not set, you know, it can be a little tedious to use, but you can definitely apply this one when your foundation is set. Oh, it looks so pretty. So far so good. Now I do want to apply the super glow powder, and you know, I wish that they had the flap just over the cream product, because I feel like when I go into the super glow, I'm gonna get the powder in there anyway. So I'm gonna try to be careful. I'm going in with my ABH highlight brush, and it does have powder kick up, so that will eventually get in the cream product. Now this highlight has some pigment to it, and it is a little bit dark. It's dark for me. You can see when I face head on, it has darkened the high points of my cheeks where you don't see that on this side. Now I'm gonna try to lighten that up using the Glow Impact powder. So I'm going to put this a little bit further back. See, if I face head on, you can see how it's kind of darkened on this side. I do want to be even, so I'm gonna go ahead and complete this side. I want you to be able to see what it looks like at every step. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the bronzer now, which they're calling a blush and bronze powder, which is kind of interesting. I want to use a very fluffy brush. I'm gonna try with my Sonia G Inochige brush, and I'm just barely tapping, and I'm going to start back here. So what I'm noticing is that this bronzer is slightly red toned, which is kind of what I experienced with my Becca and Malika palette. The bronzer is just a little bit more red tone, which is not my preference, but I can see that's probably why they're calling it a blush powder. So here you see it very lightly applied on this side of my face. So far, because of the tone, the bronzer is really not my favorite product in the palette. I think I could use it as a blush, but it would darken my cheeks a little bit more. I'm not sure how I feel about the bronzer right now. Let me go ahead and even myself out. Alright, so we're all even out, and now I have the very last product, which is the Glow Impact Powder. I'm gonna switch back to my Anastasia brush. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but now that I have applied that Glow Impact Powder, this side doesn't seem as dark as this side, but it's not as dramatic a difference. And I think that if you have a darker skin tone, you may not see a difference between the two highlights actually. If you have a lighter skin tone, then I think only the Glow Impact Powder is gonna work for you, plus the cream base, because the Super Glow is a little bit dark. I'm just gonna apply a little bit more now that I applied a little bit of setting spray. And there you have the finished look with all the products applied. I think it looks great. My skin looks so dewy and healthy. I really, really like it. I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's a perfect palette to wear if you have a very neutral kind of no eyeshadow look. You apply the tan palette all over in a really bright, bold lipstick. Just delicious for summer. I think that would look really, really pretty. So far, I'm really, really impressed with the products. I made a few notes here and there, but I'm just gonna apply a lip product and fix my hair, and I'll be back to share my final thoughts on the palette. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing the demo and my first impressions using the palette. First thing I wanted to say is the packaging is so cute. It's the same size as the Bloom Blush and Glow palette. Same type of shiny packaging with ND embossed inside. Now with this particular product, you have an 18-month shelf life, and the amounts of products that you get, with the Glow Cream base, you get 2.8 grams of products. For the bronze powder, 2.5 grams. For the Super Glow, 3.5 grams. And the Glow Impact powder, you get 3.2 grams. So you're getting different amounts of each specific product. I did show you the palette as I was applying it. You do have this flap to separate the cream products from the powder products. Now this is a powder product, and so I would have liked to have seen this flap sort of stop over the cream product itself, but I guess she was using the same format as the blush palette, and this is what we have, but that's one thing I would have enjoyed. Now overall, let me start with a bronzer. This is a very warm toned bronzer. It has a red tone to it. Typically I don't enjoy bronzers like that. I prefer my bronzers with a slightly cooler tone so they can sort of double as contours. This one is a lot more warm toned. It's something that I found similar in my Chloe Malika palette from Becca Cosmetics, where that bronzer is a lot more red toned. So just be aware of that. And they do call it a blush and bronze powder, so you could definitely use it as a blush as well. It's just not my preferred shade of a blush, so I applied it as a bronzer. I did apply it a little less defined over my cheek area so that it could double as blush, and I'm not wearing any blush today. I love the Glow Cream base. I applied it with a damp beauty blender over powder products, and it applied just fine. I love the look that it gives. So if you like that real glass skin kind of look, you could apply that and be done. It's beautiful, no shimmer, doesn't emphasize any texture at all. Beautiful, beautiful product. It reminds me a lot of the cream base in the Natasha Denona Sculpt and Glow powder. If you're not new to my channel, you know this is my favorite contour palette, and inside this palette you do have a glow product, so it functions very similarly to that product, but of course this is a very huge palette, very heavy, and not as travel friendly. This isn't a review about this palette, but I did want to compare it in that you do have a powder contour product here, and this is definitely cool tone, so this is definitely for sculpting, and one palette does not replace the other. This one is a little more versatile as well in terms of skin tones because it does come in two variations. Now, the Super Glow powder is the powder highlight that is in the palette, and I think that it is a little bit dark even for my skin tone. If I applied that product by itself, it did give me a shadow on my highlight point, so I did top it off with the Super Glow, and that definitely corrected the situation. But I think that this is a highlighter that will work better on medium to deeper skin tones if you're working with that one on its own. You could also potentially apply that one over the bronzer and get a very luminous bronzer if that's the look that you prefer. Sometimes I love a luminous bronzer, and so that is one way in which you could use this product if you have a lighter skin tone. The Glow Impact powder I think would work on absolutely any skin tone. Now this one is more of her typical highlight formula. It doesn't have too much of a metallic nature. It's very glowy. It's very luminous on the skin. It doesn't emphasize texture or anything like that. This one, which is the Glow Impact Powder, it has more of a metallic nature. So if you prefer a non-metallic highlight, you would probably stop with using the Super Glow powder. But if you like the metallic highlight, which sometimes I do, as I'm wearing it today, it doesn't look like metal per se, but it's an in-your-face highlight. It's not going to be something that looks natural by any means. It's going to be very obvious you're wearing highlight if you apply the Glow Impact Powder over it. Now, I needed to do that just because of the way that I applied the Super Glow. It was just a little bit darkening, and so I was able to apply that to my highest points of my cheeks and lighten up the color just a little bit, which made it a lot more wearable for me. Overall, I'm really loving the palette. I wish that the bronzer was a little bit more cool tone, a little bit more brown caramel rather than red. It's just not my preference for bronzers, but I can definitely get some use out of it, and if I apply it with a light hand, it blends very nice with the rest of my makeup and it could give you a really pretty look. I mentioned it during the demo that this would be a perfect palette to apply just to focus on your complexion and then wear a really bold red lip. It would just look so amazing, like a very vacation kind of look. I think it would look really beautiful. So overall, the quality of the palette is great. I think that in terms of the skin tones, you are going to be limited in how you can use it. I think people of all skin tones can use the palette, but it would be used differently depending on your skin tone. So for a lighter skin tone, you could use the bronzer, although definitely go in with a very light hand. And then the Super Glow powder I would use to make the bronzer a little more luminous, not necessarily as a highlight in and of itself because it'll be too dark in that way, but you can definitely use the Glow Impact powder. It's translucent. Metallic, if that makes any sense. Translucent metallic, that's the best way I could describe it, but I don't think it would be too dark. Now if you have a deeper skin tone, I think that this palette would be gorgeous on you. The bronzer could take some building up to get it to show up on your skin tone, but the glow products would be perfection on your skin tone. If you're somewhere in the middle like me, you can definitely make the palette work. The Super Glow powder was a little bit dark for me, as I mentioned, but I was able to use it as well, and overall I really like the palette. The quality is really great. I am glad I picked it up. I picked it up with a reward card anyway, so I wasn't going to be able to return it, but I think it's great. I think it's really good quality, and if you're interested in it, definitely give it a shot and try it out in one of the ways that I suggested, or check out some more reviews of people with other skin tones. I know that this one has been getting a lot of reviews, and so I'm sure you can find someone closer to your skin tone for reference, which will help you decide if it's going to be right for you or not. Quality wise, the quality is there, the packaging is beautiful, and I definitely give it a thumbs up. Just check out that glow. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be hanging out in the comments as usual to answer any questions that you might have, or just to hear your thoughts about the palette in general. Thank you for joining me for another review. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a like for me. Subscribe, join my makeup family, as I would love to have you join me for a future video. I hope you're doing really well. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon on my next one. Bye-bye.